welcome to Curtain Call. I'm delighted to have as our first guest Eileen Chalmers, who is the director for An Inspector Calls. Eileen has directed at Laurel Mill Playhouse before, and we are delighted to have her back.
I'm happy to be back.
Great, great. Tell us about, first, before we get into An Inspector Calls, tell us a little bit about your history in directing and acting.
Absolutely. My background is very long. I've been doing theater and some television and some commercials for about 50 years now. And
you don't look that. You don't even look you're 35.
Thank you. I wish. But I've always had, it's my true love, my first true love. And I was a teacher in Montgomery County Public Schools where I taught English and drama. And I also taught at a special needs school in Annapolis where I taught a performing arts program. And now that I'm no longer in that profession, I still keep up with it outside that world, outside my normal world. I have to have theater in my life or I'm just devastated.
That must have been a really good background to be teaching at a school, those drama and English. How does that help you when you're directing adults?
It actually makes the adult experience so much easier. If you could deal with children and get their enthusiasm and get them where you want them to go, adults are easy, but sometimes adults like to do a lot of talking and you have to kind of insert yourself there and say, hey guys, we got to get going.
Right.
So I think it's a great experience. I think working with children is almost a necessity when when you're working in theater.
Yeah.
But I love being on the adult side now.
Why do you like directing at Laurel Mill Playhouse?
Oh, I love the space. It's intimate. I love intimate theater, and you have a very receptive audience. I think that is like probably the most important thing. They're there to have a fun night of theater.
Right. I think that's true, and I think they really enjoy that intimacy because they can really see the actors' faces. They can hear every word, or if there's a little slip, they get a kick out of that too.
Yes, it's you feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah.
When you're in a small space. I think that's really important.
Now, tell me a little bit about Inspector Calls and also why you picked this particular play to direct there.
Great question. My husband and I went to see a production of An Inspector Calls because I had never seen it before at Everyman Theater in Baltimore. And I was so profoundly moved by this play, and we talked the entire way home about what we just saw. And I looked at my husband and I said, I want to direct this show someday. And here I am. So it's just one of those plays that is, you can't help but talk about it when it's over.
That's great.
I don't want to give too much away.
So can you tell us just a tiny bit, a little bit?
I can give you some exposition.
Okay.
The play takes place in a fictional town of Brumley in northern England around the year 1912, right about the time the Titanic was going to make its maiden voyage. It's about a family. When the play opens, it's an engagement dinner for the daughter in the family, and the evening begins with gaiety and just a lovely engagement dinner. And things start to change when they find out that an inspector is at the door and he wants to speak to this family, or wants to speak to Mr. Burling himself. And when he comes in, they find out that he's not just there for Mr. Burling, but for every single guest at the dinner. And it all has to do with the suicide of a woman who drinks disinfectant to kill herself. And he's there to ask them questions. And you find out as the play goes on that everybody in that room is involved with this, or was involved with this woman. Or were they? Oh. And who is the inspector?
Oh, it sounds
So
very
there's your intriguing little
So
tidbits.
is there it's a mystery for sure, but
It's
is
a
there comedy
mystery.
in there? Or more
Maybe
thought-provoking?
one line
Oh, really?
that's really funny in the show, and
Okay.
and you kind of sit back and go,
So 1912, those, are not easy costumes to find. How did you arrange that?
I have an amazing costumer. Her name is Linda Swan, and I've got to give her kudos. She is an amazing woman. And engagement dinners, it took place around the time of Downton Abbey. So people got dressed up for dinner, especially for a big occasion like that. So the gentlemen are in white tie and tail. So they all have those lovely waistcoats on. And the women are in formal wear. And with the whole 9 yards with the jewelry, it's very lovely. And Linda is a treasure trove of costuming, and she's won Watch Awards for her costuming, and she has come up with some gorgeous costumes for my actors. And the inspector has a lovely 3-piece tweed suit which fits the time, and with his bowler hat and the whole bit. So this show is very impressive because we're going for the realism, because the realism kind of counterpoints the surrealism in the show.
Oh, this is very intriguing. So tell me about who's doing your set, stage managing. You have English accents? Did you have a coach for that?
We had a dialect coach, and my friend Richard Atha Nichols was the dialect coach, and he is from England, so he knows his English dialects. Edna, our maid, who you're going to meet in a little bit, she has an Irish accent. The inspector, kind of a London accent. And our fiance, Gerald Croft, and Sheila, his fiance, and Eric Burling, all have very much the RP accent. And then we have the father in the family is Arthur Burling, and he has a Northern Yorkshire accent, and the wife is more on the RP side because she was raised with money. So Richard did an amazing job with my actors because they are just crazy good at all of that. It's a very realistic feel to the show, which I love. I designed the set, but my wonderful husband is building the set, so I could design from here to next Christmas, and without the construction, it's just on paper. Oh. So I'm really, really proud of him. He does beautiful work.
I've seen his work. It is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
It's nice to have him in the house.
Yeah.
And then Laurie Brune is stage manager extraordinaire.
She is. I've worked with her many, many times, so she is one of the best. Absolutely.
I couldn't do it without her, for sure. Yeah. And our assistant stage manager is Sean Fournier, so it's wonderful to have an assistant stage manager. Oh,
Sean is so great, yes.
He is a lovely, lovely young man. And it's just, lighting, we sort of put our heads together on that. It's sound design is wonderful, and it was done by Fred Nelson, who the rest of the world knows as King Henry VIII at the Renaissance Festival. So I feel really honored that he did our sound. And he did a wonderful job.
I'm so excited to hear it.
The house music is crazy wonderful.
That's great.
So
were there any challenges in this particular venue? Because it's it's a smaller, more intimate stage.
Well, we've kind of taken those challenges on. It takes place in the dining room of this home, and you have to have a dining room table and chairs, and it's got to look formal. And we were rummaging around upstairs and found the perfect table, and I, got a tablecloth for it, and it suspends your imagination, even though it's a table that only seats 4, and we put Eric over by the fireplace in a upholstered chair. It suspends the fact that we're missing a chair at the table, but we want the sight lines to be perfect.
Oh, I see.
We don't want anybody's back to the audience.
Right.
So, and flows beautifully. So we were able to find everything, and if not, I brought some things in, and Linda Swan is bringing some things in. So she's been helping a little bit with our properties as well. And we're making it work, and I think it's going to look wonderful as it is right now. It really is. You can see the furniture, and you can see what's happening, and when the table is set, and you've got the port glasses and the wine glasses, and you're looking at the whole thing. It's just absolutely going to be lovely, and a chandelier.
I'm very interested to see.
Me too. I'm very excited to see that hung. So we're hoping to get that done hopefully by next week.
Yeah, that's great.
And everything painted, and the set still needs to be a lot of the finishing touches need to go on, but we've got plenty of time.
So with all your with the shows that you've done at Laurel Mill Playhouse, there's always a close connection with you and with your actors. So tell me some of the delights that you've gotten from this group of actors.
They are a wonderful group, and really caring and loving and supportive, and they respect each other immensely and respect the fact that they're all crazy talented. And I will say that unequivocally, this group is just, they've brought such life to this play. I can't even expound on how wonderful they are. But I do have some people that I know, and we talked about this shortly before. My inspector played my husband in the Games Afoot in downtown Baltimore at Spotlighters. So when he came in to audition for me, he's one of these actors who doesn't know how talented he is. And he's brought the inspector to life. He really has. And they're all wonderful. What can I say? I'm just very pleased.
They seem to be a very good group, a nice group of people, which is always good to have. Well, before I let you go, tell me what we can look forward to you doing in the near future.
Oh, wow. Something coming up in the not too distant future. I'm going to be directing the show that I started at Laurel Mill with directing. I'm getting the opportunity to direct I Hate Hamlet again, which is a wonderful comedy. And it's going to be done in the round this time at Spotlighters in Baltimore.
Oh, that would be interesting.
So that was my challenge, and that I challenged myself. I haven't directed theater in the round since my college days. So I'm really looking forward to it. But having done 2 shows at Spotlighters, you kind of get to know a little bit of the ropes on how to direct in the round and how to use that small space. So it's going to be an interesting challenge. Then that show goes up in February. So in November, I'm going to be holding auditions for that show. So I get about a 6-week breather and then hit the ground running again.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world with that endeavor, and we're so happy that you stopped by our theater, and we'll be doing that show. And I'll be talking to some of your actors very soon, see if I can twist their arms and find out the real plot.
They're tougher than I am.
I'm sure they're tough. But thanks so much for coming by and chatting with me, and we look forward to this show.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Maureen.
Oh, you're welcome. Just in a few minutes, we'll have some of the actors out here that I'll be talking to, so please come back.
Hi, my name is Corporal Johnson, and I'm with the Laurel City Police Department. Today I'm here to talk about vandalism. Vandalism drags our neighborhood down. It's very important that you remember that every time you see vandalism, it costs the city lots and lots of money to repair vandalism like this done here. Anything that you may see that's strange inside your area, you can always contact the police department. You know, if you see something, say something. You can reach out to the Laurel Police Department to make notification of acts of vandalism, strange vehicles in your neighborhood by contacting us at 301-498-0092 or the My Laurel app, which can be downloaded from the Laurel City website.
Hello, and thank you all for coming back. I'm delighted to have a couple of actors from Eileen's show that I just talked to earlier. So why don't you all introduce yourselves and tell me what part that you play in this particular play.
Okay.
Kyle, you go first.
All right, I'm Kyle Kelly. I'm playing Eric Burling, who's the the son of the family. You know, you've got the four family characters: the father, the mother, the daughter, and the son. Eric is the son.
Okay, great. And you?
And my name is Matt Leyendecker, and I'm playing Gerald Croft. And Gerald is betrothed to Sheila Burling, who is the elder daughter of the Burling family. And the play is set around the celebration that they're having to celebrate their upcoming nuptials.
Okay, so that's you.
Correct.
And you're going to be in-laws, right?
Correct.
Okay.
He will be playing my brother-in-law.
Great.
And
Yeah, future brother-in-law.
future brother-in-law.
So how's your relationship with each other in this play? Is it a good relationship?
I would say it certainly starts out that way. Gerald and Eric are supposed to be relatively close in age, and they are in somewhat of the same social circles. Eric's a bit younger than Gerald is, so Gerald kind of, he has that older brother mentality. But, they're both trying to become captains of industry. And but they certainly do start out on good terms with one another. How they end up, maybe not so much, but you'll have to find out for yourself.
Darn, I was going to try and twist it out of you, but she swore you all to secrecy. So are you like your character in the show?
In some ways. I mean, Eric is a very interesting character. He sort of goes back and forth between being kind of reserved around his family, and then every once in a while he just kind of has these sort of emotional outbursts almost. Like he's feeling something and he can't keep it in. And I can certainly relate to the fact that he's often kind of quiet around people. I'm like that as well. But that he also, feels things very deeply.
So were there challenges in this role for you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and what were they?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for this particular role, which is not something that I've ever really encountered before, was sort of the challenge of trying to, because in the script, you read some of his different lines, and he'll be saying one thing at one time and something else at a different time, and a lot of the things that he says almost seem kind of contradictory. It's hard to tell all the time exactly where he's coming from. So for this play, for the first time, I've had a role where I had to try and really seriously think about where are these lines coming from at any given moment, and what are the transitions between his feelings from one line to the next, and why is he kind of bouncing all over the place, and
sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay close attention. How about you and your character?
Well, I actually identify with Gerald quite a bit. Gerald is he's very much a white knight. He likes to ride to the rescue as often as possible. I find that he's someone that I can relate to very easily. He's a big person. He likes to fill the room. I'm a pretty big guy, so I don't have much of a problem with that. But like Kyle, I found it a very interesting character study. Being able to read the words and really tap into who Gerald is without giving away too much of the plot. There is multiple opportunities for Gerald to ride to someone's rescue, and how he does that in different ways. Some of them can be positive, some of them can potentially be negative. The impact that it has, the rippling effect when any person does anything, there are always consequences, be they both positive or negative, and how a person has to deal with that. Gerald has to go through that journey during this show, as well as all of the other characters do. It's difficult to say it without giving away the plot, but but this play, each character has their own journey that they take, and how it all interlaces with everyone else's. It's a very, very interesting piece.
I am looking forward to it. Now, have you all, I know you've been at Laurel Mill Playhouse, but have you ever been at Laurel Mill Playhouse before?
I've never worked with Laurel Mill before. I've worked in the Bowie area primarily. I've done some shows with Bowie Community Theater and Prince George's Little Theater. I've also worked with the Maryland Renaissance Festival about 20 years ago. So it's been a bit of a break there. But no, but most of the work that I've done has been in that area.
What brought you out, both of you out for this show, to audition for it?
For me, Eileen specifically asked me. We had worked together before at LMP, and then there were none. We were both actors.
Oh, right, right.
In it, and she had, she kind of likes the way that I do things, and she wanted me. She had done another show that I didn't end up being able to do before, and then she asked me again about doing this one, and
Oh, that's great.
decided to come.
Was there something about this show that was particularly intriguing that you wanted to do it?
I mean, it's definitely a very interesting show, because it's in some ways it's sort of a similar tone to what we'd been in before, which is sort of a murder mystery play, but it's similar in that it's sort of a mystery, but it's not really a mystery in the same sense as really anything else. It's not like there's a murder that somebody has to figure out or anything like that. You're still learning all kinds of things about these characters, but not in a conventional way at all, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking. How about you? What brought you out for it?
Honestly, I just wrapped up another show a few months prior, and the best way to put it is when you get bitten by the theater bug, you got to keep scratching that itch. So I was looking for something in my general age range, and I was actually trying to audition for the part of the inspector when I went out that first night. But Eileen had other plans, and I'm certainly happy that she did.
Yeah.
But for me, when I got a hold of the script, and I actually got to read through it, and I realized there are no small parts in this play whatsoever, I was not disappointed that I was not cast as the inspector.
Oh, great.
So I could have been cast as any role in this show, and I would have been extremely pleased. This is a really interesting, character-driven show.
That's great. Do you all have plans after this show, or you're going to take a little break, or?
Yeah, I don't have anything in particular. It'll probably be a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm much the same. I try and do a show, take a break, do a show, take a break. So probably going to put a couple of months between here and the next show, but we'll see. We'll see.
Do you all, because I know that there's a lot of actors and actresses watching this, and I'm probably a little envious of the fact that you were cast in this show. Do you have any tips for them for the audition process that works well for you?
I would say whenever you go to an audition, don't treat it like an audition in that you're just trying to read words off of a page. You want to show the director that you can perform. So you want to put absolutely everything out there. That this may be your only opportunity to perform for this person. So don't walk away from it feeling like you left something behind. Also, don't ever be discouraged if the answer is no. There are any number of reasons why a person is cast or is not cast. You could just be the wrong physical type for a particular role. They may have been thinking of something completely different when they cast someone else over you, or vice versa. You could completely upend the director's idea that they may have for the character. So don't ever take anything personally, and always put it all out there.
Always good tips, really good tips. Well, Eileen did ask you to be in the show or to come out and audition, but once you're there rehearsing for the show, what tips do you have for other actors, how to maintain the proper etiquette in the theater, et cetera?
For the for the auditions.
For the rehearsal, for the whole rehearsal process. I mean, how do you manage to get along with other actors and not step on toes? And
yeah, I mean, it's really just kind of the same things that you would do in any situation. You know, try to be considerate of other people and so forth. You know, I mean, you know, basic things. You get to rehearsal on time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's important for everybody's, the director and the other actors.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, things that I sometimes think of as like basic requirements, like being on time and stuff, and then every once in a while I'll hear people talking about how these people are great because they come to rehearsal on time. You know?
It's like, wow.
Well, if you treat it like a job, like you want to be professional. So if you approach it like a professional, then you're gonna end up in one of those situations where people are gonna want to work with you again. If you don't necessarily have to be one of those things where if you're not 15 minutes early or late, it's not necessarily like that, but at the same point in time, I guess the way that I approach it is at the end of the whole production, if I can walk away from it with every person in the cast saying, I'd like to work with that person again, then then I believe that's a positive thing.
That's great. Those very good words of wisdom. Thank you both so much for coming out and talking with me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the show after I've talked to everybody. It's going to be just great. I know Eileen has done wonderful things at LMP, and I know she will again. Yeah. So I have 2 more actors that I'll be talking to. So we'll take a short break here, and then we'll be back.
My daughter has a big game tonight. I'm so excited to watch her play.
I plan on cooking my wife her favorite dinner tonight, lasagna.
But I was late for a meeting.
But my child had an appointment.
But I was late for school.
Trash and recycling collection is the 5th most dangerous job in the country. 40% of injuries and fatalities are transportation related.
We're just trying to keep the community clean. If you see flashing lights, please slow down.
We all have things to do and places to be, but there's no excuse for speeding around stopped trash trucks. Help our trash collectors get home safely each night. Slow down to 10 miles per hour below the posted speed limit when passing the trucks and leave at least 2 feet of room. Slow down to get around isn't just a law, it saves lives.
Hello and welcome back to Curtain Call, and I have an actor and actress from An Inspector Calls with us today. And so we'll be trying to get the plot out of you. Nobody will give it to me. But she's evidently, you're all very secretive about it, so I guess I'm not going to get it today. But we'd like to learn more about your roles that you're playing and how you feel about them, and maybe some of the challenges that you've encountered in this. First of all, why don't you give us your names and what role you do play?
My name is Tracy Dye, and I play Edna.
And who is Edna?
Edna is the parlor maid. So she's actually the only character that kind of is not on stage very much, and I have kind of a limited amount of lines. But during the audition, what I thought was very interesting is Eileen said that when she was talking about the roles, she said that she felt that character was a visual representation of the girl who actually, you find out, has died in the play, because she's also the only lower class character there. And a part of the lack of interaction with me and the other characters is kind of showing how discarded that class is, and kind of reflects probably how the girl felt. So I really, really enjoy the role. Everybody in the play is just so over the top talented that even when I'm not directly speaking with them, just, you know, watching them helps me really be in it. And yeah, so the challenge is kind of, for me, I had to do a lot more background work because a lot of my acting comes more from physicality or facial expressions. So I really had to think about who this person was and really think about how she feels about the other characters and her position. And a lot of that kind of came from when they talk about the girl who died and seeing those parallels. So adding that to her story. And I don't have many lines, but I do an Irish accent, so that's fun.
I bet that is awesome. Did you have trouble playing it with a certain demeanor, a lower class person? Just lower.
I think for that, it's a lot of, again, like all the cast and director and crew are so wonderful, and I think that there was really a point made to really discuss who our characters were and discuss with the other cast members. So for me, it kind of became easier to kind of put myself in that place, one by how great everybody's so nice in real life, but they're really good at being very rude to me on stage. And so I think just kind of being there and, you know, I kind of just was able to put myself in that place by just actually physically, you know, watching these people with this life that is upper class and probably one that my character wishes that she had. I think that it became easier just to kind of feel sad on stage, but happy off stage. But yeah, I feel very ignored and upset most of the time on stage. Except the inspector's nice to me. I like him. He's the only one I like in the show.
So why don't you go ahead, Tom, and introduce yourself and tell me about the inspector.
Sure. I'm Tom Piccine. I play Inspector Ghoul. So we can share a little bit about, if Eileen hasn't already, this upper crust British family, the Burlings, are having a celebration, and it's interrupted by the arrival of a police inspector. And on the surface, the police inspector has come to let them know that this lower class girl has died. And the Burlings say, oh, that's too bad, that's a shame, but has nothing to do with us. And then through the course of the evening and through the course of the inspector's questioning and investigation, we discover that maybe the Burlings are a little bit more involved in this girl's death ultimately than they all thought. And so the inspector sees himself as, I think, the champion of the working class, of the lower class. And that's why he's the only one that even recognizes Edna, even makes eye contact with her, and God forbid, even speaks to her.
My heavens.
And smiles.
And smiles, yeah. So you've got the upper crust family, the Burlings, and then you've got the representation of the lower class in Edna. And then the inspector comes in, and he's clearly got a mission, which we can't say too much about, but his mission is clearly to get a message to the upper class that, you know, we all have responsibility for each other to some degree.
So what were the challenges in this role for you to portray the inspector?
Well,
do you feel like it's like you?
Well, in some ways. I mean, so for any role, you know, a lot of the challenges are similar for any role. Right, a lot of people think, a lot of novices think the hardest thing is learning all your lines. Well, honestly, that's the easiest part of acting, is learning your lines. What's challenging for me is understanding at every moment why I'm saying the lines that I'm saying, and what I'm thinking when I'm not even saying any lines. So if an inspector has a particular line to say, as an actor, I need to know what he's thinking, what he's feeling, why he's saying that line, why he's choosing those exact words. Because if I don't know that, then it's not going to come across to the audience. And I spend a lot of time, here's a challenge, I spend a lot of time on stage just standing there listening to people. Because, you know, like a good police inspector, I throw out little questions and then I stand back and I listen and I wait. And the longer I wait, the more information I get out of the people that I'm questioning. So I have to without saying anything, act with my face and my body. And so even when those long stretches when I don't have any lines, I have to convey somehow to the audience what I'm thinking as I'm hearing their responses.
So you would be, I mean, this is really good information, I think, for actors and actresses, is to get their lines out of the way so they can do what you've been doing, you know? And really, like you say, it's not just lines, but that's invaluable information. Now you have an Irish accent, and you have, what kind of accent do you have?
Some variation of a British accent. It's not too clear, we're a little vague in terms of who the inspector is and what his origin is. We want him to sound vaguely British, but he's not from a particular city or a particular place, because we're not quite sure who and what he is, frankly. But we do want it to have, it takes place in London, so we want it to have a kind of a British sound. So my accent is British, but it's not very specific British.
It's mysterious.
Right.
It's mysterious.
Mysterious British.
Just a hint, just enough, to let the audience know that we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. So were those accents hard for you? I mean, or do you sort of like start picking up her Irish accent and she picking up your English accent?
No, that hasn't happened. So how did you learn your Irish accent?
Well, and actually to speak to what Tom was saying before about like the challenge for me, I don't have too many lines. I have to really, the big challenge is for me to convey a message through my body and the way that I'm looking and decide what I'm feeling. And Tom's just an amazing actor, and he was a good person actually to talk to along with the other cast. But just the way that like you need to get your lines out of the way, I really wanted to have the accent down, because when you're thinking about it, how you're saying things, it's good to have that out of the way, and then you can really act. But we did work with a dialect coach and decided what part of Ireland I was from. So we decided I was going to be Dublin, because that was a place for the working class. And also, I liked that too, because during that time period, there was a lot of upheaval in Ireland. A lot of people were fleeing Ireland, and were working class, had to have these lower class job positions and didn't have many options. But I watched a lot of movies over and over again. Actually, our dialect coach recommended 2 movies that are very working class Dublin, and I just kept watching it, and I would just repeat the lines over and over again. Lots of YouTube, and just kept doing it over and over and over again and before we go to rehearsal, I just practiced saying it and saying the lines. So finally, I kept asking, and they all told me I sound Irish, so I think it's good to go.
That's great.
And I actually do like that we have dialects, because kind of the same way that costumes can easily help you kind of transition into that role and time period, that kind of helps you remove yourself from who you actually are, because you're,
That's
taking...
a good point, absolutely.
That's absolutely true. There are certain lines, when delivered in my American accent, would not carry much weight. But when said, with a particular inflection, particularly British, it might be a lot more meaningful.
Right. Have you done, I know you have, you've all been like in the theater for a while. What have you done like recently?
Well, I was in theater very heavily for like when I was in college and a little bit after, and I actually took a 7-year break. I got busy with work and just other things, and so this is the second play I've done in 7 years. The last one was with me and Tom. We're both in it. That's how we met. And he was great. And we didn't get much interaction in that. We don't get to talk to each other a lot on stage. But,
that was a play called Dear Friends with Just Off Broadway.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually written by Reginald Rose back in the 60s, the man who wrote 12 Angry Men. And so it was a very interesting play about relationships and what happens when they start to fall apart. And in that play, we weren't in a relationship together, but we were part of 2 different couples that clashed a little bit. And I've done, something you said before reminded me, I had a director once who said, the fact that Edna has very few lines, but she's on stage, you know, she has a presence. I had a director once who said, tell a story with your entrance. In other words, you don't have to say anything, but as you come onto the stage, tell a story. You know, never lose the opportunity, never miss the chance to tell a story, even when you're not saying anything. So if you're coming on stage, if you're leaving, if you're just standing there, you can always be telling a story.
Right.
So that reminded me a lot of Edna, because that's what she's doing. She's telling a story without saying a word a lot of the times, and so that's very interesting.
He actually told me that, and that helped me out, because I was like, because when I was figuring out my character, I was like, this is really cool. What do I do with it? And he's
that's awesome.
had some very good advice.
An actress that was not able to come here today, but who tells the story when she walks off and on the stage in your particular play is Sam David.
Oh, yeah.
She has a walk that is just incredible. So you have to come and see Sam David. It's definitely worth it.
There's a dynamic, between her and me. She's, the inspector questions each of the family members in turn, and some of them kind of crumble, but some of them don't. And Sam plays the mother, who absolutely does not crumble. In fact, the more the inspector tries to intimidate her, the more she fights back and refuses to be intimidated. So to me, that's one of the most interesting dynamics between me and Sam.
Oh God, so good. So Eileen speaks very highly about all the actors and actresses in this show. And I'd just like to ask you what you like about working for Eileen.
Well, we're both redheads, so that's a plus, right? No, she's
kindred spirits.
Yes, Eileen, I had only met her briefly before auditioning for this, but she's just as a person, she's just one of the nicest, most open, warm people. She was just so open to character exploration. So it was very, very easy to come to her and give any ideas that you had. Obviously, like with me, my role's kind of, if somebody else was directing it, just based on the limited amount the script gives to that character, it would be kind of easy to overlook. But she really made it just so, and the cast did too, everyone did, but she made it so worthwhile and just made me really, really fall in love with this character that could just be a very minor thing that was overlooked.
Yeah, Eileen was really committed to making Edna a principal character, even though she barely appears in the play. And in some respects, you can say, if you think about the message of the play, and this is what I believe, in some respects, this is a play about Edna, even though Edna's barely on the stage. So after the audience has seen the show, then they can decide for themselves if they agree with me.
Thank you. Oh, he's sweet. Well, the inspector's in the title of the show, so it's also a show about the inspector and everyone. But thank you. But Eileen, she's so kind and she's so creative and she's so passionate. Like, she's so passionate about the show, and it's just palpable. And that's so contagious. And I think that really, feeds the passion of the other actors. And it's just, everybody's just so wonderful in it. So I'll be sad when it's over.
Well, I'm glad we're going 4 weekends. It starts September the 8th and goes through October the 1st. You need to purchase your tickets online at laurelmillplayhouse.org. If you have questions about the show, you want to call 301-617-9906 and press 2, and somebody will return your call. I think you all can agree with me that this is going to be a great show with a great cast and an awesome director. So please come out and see it with us. And thank you all so much for coming out of your busy days and sharing with Laurel TV. And so we'll see you next time on Curtain Call. Thank you.